Hello, this is Brian. I just wanted to do a quick one here about Trump's energy policy. Now, before Trump, he wants to export a lot of natural gas over to Europe because the Nord Stream pipeline was, broken and destroyed to the point where Russia can't get cheap natural gas to Germany and some of the European countries. So a lot of the European countries end up getting their fuel. Well, Russia can sell it to India, and then India can sell it back to Europe. But and then of course there's a lot of problems, even with Ukraine. A lot of the countries, there's some pipelines that go through Ukraine, and certain countries, are now not going to get their cheap natural gas because the contract ended, and Zelensky doesn't want to renew the contract to let flows of natural gas and oil going to certain countries, Balkan countries, or anyway. I don't know if it's Slovakia, Romania, and maybe Hungary. But anyway, and so Trump likes the idea of all the natural gas and some of the products that we've had to frack on our land to get out of the land, which has more of an impact than the old school way of getting it, because there's not that much oil as far as left without going through more difficult processes. So, and yet he, to make a buck, wants to send that, because the pipeline was destroyed. So they, Germans and other Europeans are not getting their cheap natural gas. That's ruining the economy of Germany. Naturally, we are the ones that did that to hurt Russia. But it also hurts, the Europe and Germany. But they went along with it. So we're not helping the European Union. We're not helping, well, we do like to have our missiles on the border of Russia, but that's a different story with NATO. But that's because we're trying to weaken Russia, and we have some different things going on there. But as far as energy policy, so Trump wants to export energy. Now the ships that export it, that requires more energy. The further you export things away, and the cheaper fuel you use, like bunker fuel, is going to be more polluting. So now we've had to frack to get this, and now we're going to send it away. And he says drill, 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 and we don't even have the correct refinery plants. How come we're not investing in refinery plants? Because the quality of oil from the Permian Basin from fracking is actually better than what we were getting previously. So we should update our refining facilities to handle it. But that's too expensive. It's easier to send this kind of stuff out and then import stuff that we can, use as far as with the equipment we have, which is going to be a nastier, dirtier type of oil that requires different refining. And also we're getting some tar sand, which is really nasty, from Canada. So I don't understand why we aren't having cars, some lightweight cars that can get 200 or 300 miles a gallon, or they could be electric vehicles that use less energy, just, a tenth of the energy, something lightweight, and lower the ground, and you have a little flag so nobody runs you over. That only might go 35, 40 miles an hour and get the kids dropped off, get the groceries picked up, use less energy that way. But so using less energy and not sending the energy away to other countries because we had to sabotage a pipeline would make more sense. But somebody's going to make a profit. It's lining the pockets of the elites. And this is our country, it's our oil, it's our natural gas. It should stay in this country unless somebody's in dire straits. But we don't need to create the dire straits by cutting off. And now with the artificial intelligence, now we're going to have to practically double up, maybe double up, just for that, let alone electric cars, because these processing plants that process data and analyze data in a zillion different ways require a lot of electricity, a lot of cooling, and so now that's going to mean we got to double up what we can do on the grid. So a lot of people are going to want to use coal because the natural gas is being shipped off, and we won't be able to get it enough, so they'll start up some old coal plants. That's ridiculous. Natural gas is the cleanest of all fossil fuels. If you have pipes that don't leak and you do a proper job, you're going to create far less, not only carbon dioxide, but in the particulate levels compared to coal and cheap fuel oils, thousands of times less of sulfur dioxide and particulate. Now, we used to, or we have been doing a little better job with coal. The thing is, all the scrubbers, all that coal dust, and then you store the coal dust. Heck, sometimes if it's near a riverbed and the embankment opens up, now you're poisoning the fish. The coal dust might be able to be used in roadways with tar, and that might help keep the weeds out. Well, it should be used for something like that, but don't increase the number of plants. Just efficiently use what you got. Use good scrubbers, use the byproducts, and it should be a demand, the cheapest way out, and then lining somebody's pockets because they're letting some companies do the cheapest way out is absurd. Now, the methane hydrate and the, Beaufort Sea is another natural gas that, due to global warming, is going to, it's natural gas encaged in a molecular cage of ice, and it's at the bottom of the ocean. And the last time there was global warming through natural causes, the melting in methane hydrate accelerated it. So there's a energy we can use. And also, we should be using the carbon dioxide as a resource. So the lightweight vehicles, and then also, I don't see why we can't have, like the tractor trailers, only as high as a big pickup, and streamlined like a bullet train, that are still, 200 or 300 feet long, that can go on the highways, that are have the different sections of little trailers that are streamlined. And then you could drop different sections off, different places, and push less wind, have less weight, be lower to the ground so the wind doesn't push you over. I mean, an empty tractor trailer, I remember in a couple-week period, 2 of them flipped over on the Golden Gate Bridge because of high winds when they're unloaded. In fact, those should be able to drop the size. If you're unloaded, you should be able to lower the box into half the height, and so that way it doesn't blow over when it's low. And then when you have the lightweight bullet train type, a new type of more efficient ways of transporting on the roads, they will be light and low so that the wind doesn't push them over. So we're not designing things for the future. Instead, somebody's going to line their pockets and accelerate how much of these fossil fuels are moved and burned for the increase of AI. Well, if you use analog, which does just fine for most of your systems, like your power grid. And then people are more engaged, and they're watching the instruments. And then they're talking to each other. That means you're hiring more people, and they're lining up the grid. Instead, you got something that can be hacked. So who says this AI stuff is any better than analog? Analog, if you're going to have somebody sabotage it, they got to come into the plant and know and try to find where everything is. And then it's going to take them hours to figure it out and, wreck it. So instead of now, we might be able to have somebody mess with our grid from 1,000 miles away. It's absurd. So to say, and the AI just uses up so much energy, and then we're going to have to start coal-fired plants for that. We could, I maybe use a little AI here and there for our own, to learn things about it, what could be done, but just to go to see if you can beat China on the AI. Heck, in China, I guess, they have bullet trains, and the bullet train here between LA and Vegas, they haven't been able to get that one up. And somebody told me at the gym today that China was going to help us. Now I don't think we should have a big race with China on AI, but that doesn't mean we can't work with them if they got better, bullet trains. Now the stuff we made. The steel. I watched this thing and they would smash parts made in China and parts, but our parts were 100 or 50 years old. If we were to compete today making, a sledgehammer and the part today, in order to compete for the price with China, it'd probably crush like the Chinese one does, because we're not making that stuff anymore, or be super expensive. So we showed China a lot of good stuff in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And they took off running, they hit the ground running, and and we a lot of our companies were having to make parts that were for national defense. So companies don't give a shit about our national security when they're having parts made in other countries like China and showing them new technology, and then they hit the ground running with it and they're passing us by. Well, that's fine, but that doesn't mean we have to be total enemies, and we just don't want to lose our hegemony, or it's going to be a multipolar world. I don't care if it's a multipolar or single polar, or we're totally on the top or somebody else is a little head. It doesn't matter. We still got to treat each other like humans and think we're on this little jewel that's 1,000 light years from any habitable place, that, we got to work together to make it work so it lasts longer and not destroy ourselves. But to just line your pockets and send our natural gas overseas after having to frack for it is ridiculous, and not even having the right equipment to even process our own oil, and not try to get 200 or 300 mile an hour cars for special little 35 mile an hour jobs, and then the bullet train things, and to get your produce and conservation, got to start working together and get some common sense, and instead of trying to, be the big guy and tell everybody what to do. We need to lead by example. When they say, and then we share information on how to do things cleaner or more efficiently. People can work together, the whole world, but not if the left hand and the right hand are doing two different things with chaos and confusion. That's what we stand for. And we need to get our moral compass, kick all these people out. We need to have another January 6th. Just kick all them. There's about 3 or 4 of them, like Massey, Rand Paul, and Kosinich, and a few others that are decent, in Congress and the Senate. But, well, it's so far and few between because they want to make a killing, get their family to have a heritage of money. You know, the money god. And it doesn't matter if it kills people, ruins the environment. Well, screw that. We're going to need another January 6th. And hell, I don't mind. We'll see what happens. But maybe we can get Colonel Douglas McGregor, the one that kept Trump out of any wars his first time around. Maybe he could be our new commander-in-chief. It'd be nice if we had some people with common sense. But anyway, have a great day. Keep our fingers crossed. See you later.